should notice
that I ain't going
nowhere.
I ain't blowing no smoke. I mean, I've been sober, but you should've known it, that I wasn't going.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the next episode of The Face Behind the Brand, where I talk to entrepreneurs that use their passion for success and change the game. I am your host, Denise Murray, and before I introduce my guest of the day, I want y'all to do me a favor and just go ahead. If you're on Instagram or LinkedIn, just let me know what city and state you're tuning in from. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you're on LinkedIn and Instagram, just let me know where you are tuning in from. Now, before I introduce our special guest, I just want y'all to know it's Winning Wednesday. As I always say, you are all winners. So remember, you can do whatever you put your mind to. So let me go ahead and bring up this fabulous lady. She is a mother, a wife, a realtor, and she's beautiful as ever. And her name is Khahlidra Hadhazy. I'm going to go ahead and bring her to the stage. Khahlidra, can you hear me right now?
I can hear you perfectly.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on with me tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Now, before we get started, I always like to bring everybody's listening to the background of the person before we get into business, just to tell us a little background on you, from how you started from younger ages and things, just some little background, not too personal, but there's something that you would like to share so they can get to know you a little personal before we go into business.
Sure. So my name is Khahlidra Hadhazy. My maiden name is Khahlidra Levister, which a lot of people would know me by. I grew up in Highland Park, New Jersey, located in central New Jersey by Rutgers University. And I can't say I've been a lifelong New Jersey resident, because there was a period of my life where I lived in New York City in the career that I had prior to this one. So in my past career, I went to culinary school in New York City, and I was a pastry chef. And I had a 15-year career in hospitality, and I loved it. It was great. I worked exclusively in New York City and lived and worked in New York City for 15 years. And when I started my family, I wanted to move back to New Jersey to raise my family in my hometown. So I convinced my husband that this is where it's the place to be. And he agreed. He's originally from Annapolis, so he's not from New Jersey, but we moved back to New Jersey. We moved back to my hometown. And I was on maternity leave for about 2 years, taking care of my daughter. And we thought at the time we were just one and done. We didn't know that we would be blessed with a second daughter, and we are so happy to have two. But at the time, we thought we were just having one. So I really wanted to take advantage of being at home with her and being on maternity leave. And I realized over that time that I didn't want to go back to working in restaurants. I had worked, in these really fast-paced, high-volume, high-profile restaurants for 15 years, and I loved it. But I realized that the time commitment and just the work-life balance wouldn't be there. And so I wanted to make a change and find something else to do that didn't involve me working late hours in a restaurant or traveling to New York City. So I was trying to figure out what would be the best industry that I could apply my hospitality skills, and how would that translate into an industry that gave me flexibility to be a mom, but still be client facing and working with the public. And real estate was a natural fit. So I started working in real estate about 10 years ago, and I'm never looking back.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. And I know a lot of people would really touch with that, because what you're saying, you were a mother and what you did so you can be home, because I know a lot of people who they didn't have that opportunity where it was because I know honestly what made me want to start into business myself was because I had someone who I was paying at one point in time to go and pick my child up from daycare. The
Mhm.
person never came and got her. And
Wow.
they were calling me like saying, and at the time I didn't know what defects meant because I was
Mhm.
from up north. I'm coming to the south, so I'm like, defects. What is defects? They're like, defects is coming to get your child. I was like, what?
Oh my
And so
gosh.
I just had started the job, and so they were like, you can't go. And so I literally met a girl 2 weeks prior because I was only there 2 weeks, and she had to send her mother, who I had to sign paperwork to, a woman I have never met in my entire life, to go pick up my child for me from
Wow.
here. And I was sitting there on pins and needles, making. I'm like, I pray everything is okay with my child. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's when I first was like, I have to have a plan B because this can never ever be.
Happen again. Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of people that go through that, but that's so awesome that you was able to bring that into your skills. Now, what trends are you seeing in the current real estate market, and how are they affecting buyers and sellers?
So right now, inventory is still at record lows, meaning that there's not a lot of homes available for sale.
Wow.
And, my opinion is the pandemic really changed a lot for a lot of people, but primarily it changed the way people work.
Mhm.
And because we have so much remote work now where people are able to work from home, a
Mhm.
lot of people no longer have to relocate for jobs. So you can take a new job that's across the country that pays better than the job you had, and you don't even have to leave the state you're in. You don't have to leave your home. And that has been fantastic. It's been tremendous for a lot of people. It's given people a lot of flexibility. It's given them a lot of their lives back because people don't have to commute. So they're saving on the hours that are basically, free labor that you're giving to your job, however long it takes you to get there. If it takes you an hour and a half to get to work every day, or like to work and back again, that lost time, you're not being paid for that time, but that is time dedicated to getting
Right.
to where you got to go. So because we've seen a tremendous uptick in remote work, people are not relocating at the pace that they were pre-pandemic. That coupled with really high interest rates, where you had pre-pandemic rates have, like, interest rates since before the pandemic have doubled and sometimes tripled for some people. I know that before the pandemic, I had clients who were seeing interest rates as low as 2.5%, and now interest rates are like 6, 7, sometimes 8%. Between 2020 and now, there have been some interest rates that have been high as 9, depending on where you fall in your credit and down payment. So it's just really unfortunate. A trend that we're sort of seeing is not a positive trend. There's a lot of people who purchase starter homes and they're stuck in their starter homes. Their families have grown, they've outgrown the homes that they're in, but they can't leave because inventory is so low, causing housing prices to be very high. And a lot of people who purchase homes before the pandemic have these incredibly low interest rates, and they're not eager to trade them in for higher interest rates.
Mhm.
So it's a real catch-22. It's a very unfortunate situation. I think the solution to this would be for interest rates to come down, and I think that would put some movement in the market. I don't think that we need new construction and like new housing. I really don't think that's the answer because we don't have a shortage of housing. We have a shortage of people moving.
Mhm.
The flow isn't flowing.
Right.
So it's not that there aren't enough homes. There's more than enough homes.
Mhm.
No one's moving. So like we're just bottlenecked. Um, so that's really where I kind of see, that's kind of where we are right now. That's sort of the state of the market.
Right. Now, I know some people that I talked to in the past, they were saying like, "Oh, this is a buyer's time. This is a seller's time." So, what would you say about that? Like when it comes to
I mean,
like that aspect?
it's definitely a seller's market. Um,
Mhm.
it's and it's a really specific seller's market, to be perfectly honest with you. The
Mhm.
people that I see that are benefiting the most from the bottleneck in the market that we have right now are people who are empty nesters who are looking to downsize. So if you're looking to downsize your property, you're in a really good position because you more than likely have a house that's much too large for just you by yourself or you and your spouse. You have adult children that no longer live at home, and now you've got this, 3-4 bedroom house that you're just, living in, one bedroom. And if you're looking to downsize to a smaller home, maybe a townhouse or a condo, or even just like a single family ranch style house, or you're looking to downsize into like a 55 plus community, you are in a really excellent position right now because you get to sell at the height of the market, and you can go and buy something that's way less expensive than your house and have a surplus of the equity that you built up. So it is very much a seller's market, but sellers who are downsizing are at the top of that opportunity in this market.
That's good. Yeah, because that's what I know, like, we talked about that, and I know a couple of people in my neighborhood was talking. Like, some people actually left from my neighborhood because of that. Because when we purchased our homes, we purchased them so low, so they're selling their homes and doing what you said, buying something cheaper. Now, do you think it's going to switch, like, where maybe in a year or two things are going to flip and go back down again?
I don't think that it's going to flip entirely, because I don't see, unless we have a recession, which is unlikely because the economy is really strong right now. I don't know how or when the Fed is going to drop interest rates enough to create a sort of deluge of sellers and buyers, where you just have like this surplus of people selling their homes and, not enough buyers. We have more than enough people who are ready to buy. There are a lot of people who, for whom rents have gone up really high, and they're just like, I'd rather be paying a mortgage instead of rent. So there's a surplus of buyers. We have a backlog of buyers. I have personally 2 clients in my town who want to downsize to smaller homes in the town, which we're having trouble finding. And they have homes to sell, and their homes would sell immediately. The problem is they have nowhere to go. So it's, it's that sort of, again, it's just like the catch 22. I can't foresee interest rates coming down to a level so good that it creates a buyer's market.
Okay.
But I do think that they will come down, and we'll start to see some more movement in the market.
Okay. Now, can you give us a little step-by-step guide that can be helpful for first-time buyers or sellers?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start with first time sellers because it's a bit shorter of an explanation of like things to do. And there's a lot of stuff for first time buyers. So we'll just start with sellers and get them out of the way first.
Okay.
So first time sellers are usually, typically people who bought their forever home and have lived in their home for like 30 something years. Or they're people who are, bought a condo or a townhouse or a starter home, and they're ready to upgrade to their bigger home. They're very similar, but the first time seller who bought their home 20 or 30 years ago, it's a whole different process than they remember from when they bought their home 20 or 30 years ago. Things are very different versus the person who bought a house maybe 5 or 10 years ago. So with first time home sellers, I would say, it's always, and I'm not saying this just because I own a real estate brokerage, but it is always tempting to try to go it alone. And I know in this, economy with inflation, people are always trying to find ways to save money, but you kind of get what you pay for. So it's like, I would encourage anyone who's interested in selling their home to at least consult a realtor, even if you don't hire a realtor. If you want to sell it yourself, I would say hire a real estate agent to consult with, and just pay them a consulting fee and have them walk you through all of the steps. But if you decide to work with a real estate agent, and I definitely strongly encourage you to, the first thing you want to do is you want to interview a number of agents. You want to get some recommendations from people that in your neighborhood that have sold homes before, and who did they work with. You want to look at the agents that are in your town, and people whose names you see often on signs. You want to talk to more than one realtor. I would interview probably 3, maybe 4, but 3 is about good. And the kind of questions that you want to ask those realtors are, what kind of services do they provide? What kind of support do they offer their clients? What is included in their commission fee? What is their commission fee? And a lot of people don't know, but commissions are negotiable. There's some real estate agents that are like very firm in what they charge, and they're not willing to negotiate, and that's fine, that's normal. But you'll also find some that might be a little bit flexible on their rate, so it doesn't hurt to bring it up. You want to see what things they include, what services they include, because every real estate agent is different. Some real estate agents will pay for a photographer. Some real estate agents will ask you to pay for the photographer. Some real estate agents will offer staging services. Some real estate agents will say, hey, we can do staging, but it's going to cost X amount of dollars. Some real estate agents will have a list of different vendors that they work with, like they'll have an electrician or a plumber or a handyman that can help you fix your house up and get it ready for market. You want to find out, what kind of connections and relationships these real estate agents have, how many open houses are they going to do, what kind of marketing material, how are they going to market your home, how are they going to get the word out to everyone about your house and get you the most that you can for your property. And if they're going to advise you on repairs or things that you should do. Okay. So you definitely want to interview real estate agents and find one that is going to give you the most value for what you're going to pay them. It's really important. A lot of times people will get a real estate license and, just say, oh, my cousin has a real estate license. She could sell the house for me. We'll keep the money in the family. And that is also very attractive and completely understandable. But again, you get what you pay for. If your cousin only sells one house a year, they're not going to be as well connected as the realtor who is in your town who sells 10 to 15 houses a year. Right. And that makes a really big difference. The money you think you are saving, you could actually be losing, because that person may not be as experienced as someone else to know that, for example, how you should price your house and what you should list it for. If someone with less experience doesn't know how to really do comps, they may not know how to price your house appropriately. They may overprice it or underprice it. And if they overprice it and it's sitting on the market forever, you're losing money. If they underprice it and it sells right away, but you've basically left, $10,000 or $20,000 on the table because they didn't price it well, then you've lost out too. So I would encourage everyone to just interview agents. Something that I want to address, because this is in the news recently, the National Association of Realtors had a huge lawsuit settlement regarding commissions. And there's been a lot of confusion amongst buyers and sellers with regard to who pays real estate commission. Traditionally, the seller of a home would hire a listing agent and they would pay a commission to the listing agent. That is still done. The confusion is sellers thinking that they're paying for the buyer's real estate agent as well. And that's where a lot of this confusion with this lawsuit is. I really need to clarify to everyone watching. When you hire a real estate agent and that agent, you agree on what that commission is, whether it's 4%, 5%, 6%, whatever it is. Let's just say, for the sake of even numbers, it's 6%. You're not paying for the buyer's agent. The listing agent is paying for the buyer's agent, because that is part of their marketing strategy. Part of the marketing strategy to help sell your home is to offer any cooperating agent a portion of the commission that you are being paid, so that it incentivizes the buyer agents to bring their clients to come see your house. It incentivizes the buyer's agent to help the buyer through the transaction. And once the buyer's agent brings their buyer, they make an offer and they accept the offer, you accept the offer, your agent, the listing agent, and the buyer's agent are going to work together to get your home sold. So they're going to split up the tasks that are involved, and there are a lot of them, to get your home to close. They're going to get you to closing. So it's not a matter of the seller paying both real estate agents. The seller's paying one real estate agent. That one real estate agent is very generously giving a portion of their commission, and oftentimes it's a 50-50 split. They're giving half their commission to the other agent for the other agent to come and help with the transaction. So that's being paid to another person. It's a huge misconception that real estate agents are walking away with these huge sums of money, because that is so far from the truth. And that commission, that 6% commission, is often split between that agent, their broker, the other agent, that agent's broker, and any admin or team members that they may have. So nobody's walking away with this big windfall of money. And that is a huge misconception, and something that, if you're a first-time seller, you should understand that part of marketing your property is your agent sharing the commission you're paying them with other agents to incentivize other agents to bring their buyers to your property.
That's good. Then I never knew that.
Yeah, so that's something that people don't know, and what they may not realize. Without that incentive, other agents aren't going to they're not bringing their buyers to your house. They're not going to come, and they will have an itinerary of houses to show their clients over the weekend. And I take clients out all the time, and sometimes I'm showing them 8 to 10 houses on a Saturday or a Sunday. If there's no incentive for me to do the work to show your house and go through the whole transaction, I'm not going to put your house on my list. So, you know what I mean? And no one wants to burden their buyers with having to come up with that extra commission out of their pocket when they are already, putting everything they've worked hard for into the down payment. So the agents are just going to skip your property. So that makes no sense. So, it's just a way to understand that commission is being split between another agent, and it's coming from the listing agent's proceeds. It's coming, put it this way. If I'm listing a house for sale and a buyer comes and they don't have an agent and they're not working with an agent, I still get the same commission. I just don't have another agent to share it with.
Okay. So that was powerful information. Everybody's saying it's good information.
Yeah. No, that is a huge misconception. That's a huge misconception. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's important to make that distinction, because there's a lot of confusion out there right now. So I would say to a home seller, interview real estate agents, work with someone that's going to really help you get your house ready for market. Some red flags to look for are, if you get somebody in your house and they come and they want to list your house for sale tomorrow, nobody's house is ready to go tomorrow. Everybody needs something. And I'm a real estate agent, and I could tell you my house isn't ready to sell tomorrow. And it doesn't matter how up on your home maintenance you are, there's going to be something that you need to do just to get it ready. So if you are talking to a real estate agent and they are literally ready to take photos of your house with their phone and put a for sale sign in your yard, like the day you have them over for your listing appointment, that is a red flag. Because that's somebody that's really just trying to get your listing. They're not going to actually help you sell your house. They're just trying to secure the listing. Ask for comparative market analysis reports from every single agent that you talk to. And what those are what they call comps, and they're comparable houses that are comparable. It's a report that shows houses that are comparable to your house, that are similar in size, similar in neighborhood. They should be in your neighborhood. They shouldn't be all the way across town. They should be within like a 10-block radius of your house. Similar size, similar condition, and then just see what homes have recently sold within the last 6 months. It shouldn't really be any more than 6 months.
Sorry, y'all. We come back on. There's a little bit of connection issue. I know y'all been getting some good information. I know y'all are really getting some good information. Hold on. Just give us a moment. So while we're waiting for the connection coming up in the chat, can y'all just give me where y'all tuning in from? What city and state y'all tuning in from? Hello, Colette Brooks. Hello, Trillian. Hello, Ace Boogie. She's gonna come back on. I guess it was like her thing went out, so we're gonna get her back on. Hello, TP DCR. How are you? Hello, everyone. Covington, Georgia. Okay. Here we go.
Sorry about that. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed.
Oh no, that's
realize
fine.
that my computer wasn't plugged in. I had to run and grab my power cord. I apologize.
No worries.
Okay, so where I left off was when you're looking at a comp report, your properties, our recent sales shouldn't be any more than 6 months. So you want to look at things that have sold in your neighborhood for the last 6 months, and you want to see how those prices compare. Are those homes selling for higher than they listed? Like if they listed at 400,000, are they selling for 425 and 450? Are these people getting multiple offers? Are the homes selling lower than what they were listed for? If it was 400 and they're really selling at like 375 or 380, you want to see how long they were on the market. Are these houses like selling in like a matter of a week, or are they sitting on the market for a month? You want to take all of those things into consideration in how you price your home. And you want to ask the agent to give you their expert opinion on what they think you should price your house at. Be wary of people who are trying to price your house way higher than the market if your home doesn't warrant it. There are situations where you may have made improvements on your property that nobody else in the neighborhood did. You put an addition on your house, or you put in a swimming pool, or you got a brand new deck and you redid your kitchen and you did all of this stuff that might make your house list higher than your neighbors because you've put the work into it. But that has to be justified. Like your property has to justify its price. And so just be wary of agents who are just trying to razzle dazzle you with a high list price to be like, yes, you could get $495 for your house when you know everything in the neighborhood is selling at 420, 425, and your home is comparable to those other homes. The benefit of the internet is that even when you get these reports, there's usually just one photo of the house. You can always go online and Google that address and look at their Zillow listing, and you can see what the inside of those houses look like and how they compare to your house. So I would definitely say for first-time sellers, please do your due diligence so that you get an agent who really knows their stuff and really knows what they're talking about. Because having somebody competent is going to benefit you in the long run, even if it costs you 5% of whatever the sale price is. If you're working with a competent agent, they will more than make up for that in the fact that they'll get you the most money for your home.
Right. Now, piggybacking on that, because I was talking to someone actually around me, and they did a lot of upgrades. So normally, like, how does that work? Like, say, for instance, if the houses in your area are going for, say, close to 400,000, but your house is probably the one that has the most upgrades on it in that neighborhood. Can you really capitalize on that, or do you really just kind of just take a loss on that because of the fact that all the houses in the neighborhood are not at that of what you did to your home?
No, you can absolutely capitalize on that, especially kitchens and bathrooms. Kitchens and bathrooms typically see about an 80% ROI, return on investment, for whatever you put into that kitchen. Move-in ready homes are huge. And a lot of times people, they don't want the burden of having to do anything more than paint. So if you basically deliver to your two buyers a vanilla box where it's like and I'm talking like you've painted everything just like white, like white walls. You don't really have to do that to the bedrooms, but kind of communal areas, if it goes with your tile or goes with your flooring, I mean, it has to like match. Obviously, you don't want to, be painting everything white and it doesn't go with your floors or whatever. But
Right.
You're basically giving someone just like a clean, fresh box where people can come in and they're like, whoa, I could really see myself here. That's what you want people to feel when they walk in the door. So if somebody made a bunch of improvements to their property, they redid their bathroom, they redid their kitchen, they, added a deck, or, they've done all of these things to improve the value of their property, they will see that back, especially in a market with limited inventory. Because in a market with limited inventory, you get people who are selling houses that are not in great shape, but they're getting a nice amount of money for them because there's nothing else to buy. If what you are up against, the competing houses, because you have to think about your house as competing with the other houses. You guys are all competing for the same buyers. So how do you make your property stand out? Well, if everybody else's property is average and your property is really superior because you've put a lot of work into it, it's going to stand out and people will be willing to pay a premium for that.
Okay, cool. Now, what are some things, I know there's a lot of people who are in the market to buy their first home. What are the things that are looked for when it comes to first time home buyers? Because I know there's a lot of people on here that are looking to get their first home and they're like, what do I need? What kind of credit I need? What type of things that I have to bring to the table? What are some things you can tell us about that?
Okay, so let's start with a 1 year timeline. Okay, so let's say that it's right now we're going into it's the end of August, beginning of September, and let's say you are working towards buying your first home for next summer. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to research in your area first-time homebuyer programs. So in the state of New Jersey, there's a first-time homebuyer program that will give you $17,500 towards your down payment and closing costs. And I know that this program exists in other states as well. So the first thing I would do is Google first-time homebuyer down payment assistance program and then your state, and see what programs come up, because these are things that are really helpful for first-time home buyers. They oftentimes don't have a salary cap. So it's like you can, whatever your salary, you qualify. They do often have a credit score limit of 620. So if your credit score is below 620, you're going to want to get that up, because in order to qualify for a lot of these programs, you have to have a minimum credit score of 620. So this is like a year. You got some time. You definitely have some time to kind of get those things together. And then with the down payment assistance program, what's great about that is you don't really have to have a whole lot of your own money to contribute. So if you do have a few $1,000s to contribute, you can totally do that. But sometimes with some of these programs, if you don't have any of your own money to contribute, that whole 17.5 can go towards that. Now, that depends on what you're buying. It's hard to use some of these programs to buy condos and townhomes, because a lot of these down payment assistance programs are coupled with FHA mortgages. And in order to buy a townhouse or a condo with an FHA mortgage, that townhouse or condo has to be FHA approved. So that is another thing to Google, is go on the FHA.gov. You want to check their list of approved condos and townhouses in your state, in your area, so that you can see what developments might be FHA approved. And that's a good thing, because then you can put this towards that, and you don't have to necessarily buy a single family house if you're looking at a condo or a townhouse to be your first purchase. Another thing I would check, and again, this is different all over the country, but the USDA offers 0 down payment mortgages if you buy property that's in a USDA sanctioned rural area. And you will be surprised, a lot of towns that you don't think are rural fall in that map. So we have some in New Jersey that I'm like, this is not rural. There's no farms here. Like, this is crazy. And but it's on the map. And so because it fell in the map, that you can get a USDA mortgage with zero money down, and you can go ahead and get a house with that. So these are some things to definitely check out for first-time home buyers. And you want to do this like a year in advance, because you want to start planning for where you might want to be and where you may want to live. And then every state, again, some states have they give special loans and special grants for certain neighborhoods and certain areas if it's an area of development. Sometime I know in New Jersey they have. Well, I think they stopped this because after everybody started working remote, now it became kind of like irrelevant. But they had this live where you work program where if you live where you work, they would give you some extra money. But now everybody lives where they work, so they stopped giving that money. But there's always something. And some are state specific, some are county specific, and some are town specific. So just do your research and do your homework, because there's a lot of free money out there to help first-time home buyers. And some of it is specific to your ethnic group. Some might be specific to if you're a woman. Some might be specific to if you're in the military or you have military service. Like, just there's all kind of things for everybody. So definitely take a look at it and research that. So that's when you're about a year out. You want to start doing that research. When you're about 9 months out, you've already been working on your credit and you've been putting money to the side. You want to just keep an eye on your credit score, keep an eye on your credit history. Just make sure there's there's nothing that you don't recognize showing up on your credit report. If you have like a 401k at work, talk to your HR department about the ability to borrow from your 401k, because you may be able to take money from your 401k to put towards your down payment, and then you just put it back later. So there's different mechanisms for helping to build that down payment.
And just a tip, y'all, sorry to cut you off, but just a little tip for what she just said, y'all. If you do that, y'all know that's also a tax credit. When you are putting your 401 towards your first-time home buyer, you do get a tax credit for this. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a win-win. Yeah. And then at this point, you also want to, so some people, and I've seen this with some of my buyers, they will have gifts given to them by people in their family. So someone in the family might want to contribute to your down payment, which is a blessing, and that's wonderful. So if you have people in your family who are going to gift you money towards your down payment, this is the time to get it. You're also going to want to get like a gift letter saying that they're giving you this money and that you don't have to pay it back. So when you're at about the 6 month stage now, let's say we're at 6 months, credit looks good, everything looks good. I would start talking to mortgage lenders at this point, because now you want to, well, actually, I take that back. We don't want to start talking to the mortgage lenders yet. At the 6 month point is when you want to start getting all your financial ducks in a row, because your bank is going to be asking you for bank statements, and they are looking for, they're going to look for 2 years of tax returns, and they want like 2 to 3 months of bank statements. So this is the time where if you have any money hidden under your mattress, you need to put it in the bank. You can't show up with cash. You have to have money that's in the bank, and it has to have seasoned. So seasoned meaning that it's been sitting there marinating for a little while. It shows up on a couple of bank statements, and this is what you're going to need to provide to your mortgage lender. So if you have, some people, they keep cash in the house, and that's their cash that they were saving, and they want to put it towards their down payment. About 6 months before you start looking for your property, this is where you need to be putting it in the actual bank so that it shows up on your bank statements. And you don't have to put it all at once. You can put a little bit at a time so it doesn't look crazy or look suspicious. You definitely don't want to put anything over $10,000 in the bank all at once, just cash out of nowhere. It raises too many questions. So if you have large sums of cash that you want to use towards buying your house, about 6 months before you go to buy the house is the time you want to start getting that money in the bank. And then any gifts or anything that your family is going to provide to you that is part of your down payment, this is the time to be collecting those funds and putting that in the bank. So now, fast forward to 3 months. Okay, we've done our research, we got our credit up, we put all our money in the bank. Now we want to start talking to mortgage lenders, because now when they ask you for those bank statements, that money's been in the bank. So they can see that your closing costs are there. They can see your down payment is there. And if you say, hey, I want to get on one of these down payment programs, the program, whatever program you're using, they're going to have a list of approved lenders that they work with. So you can talk to any of the lenders on their list and say, I want to participate in this program. You know, how do we get started? So at this time, you're going to be prepared to hand over a lot of financial information. So when you start to talk to a mortgage lender, you know, you're going to be giving them 2 years of tax returns. So for you and your spouse, or even if you're not married, you don't need to be married to buy a house together. You can totally buy a house together with someone that you're not married to. It'll change the way you take title, but we'll get into that in a minute. But it's totally something that you can do. Don't be afraid to say like, well, we're not married, we can't buy this house. That's not true. Yes, you can. So both of you put together, or one of you, however you're doing it, if you're buying a house on your own, you're going to need 2 years of your tax returns. You are going to need 2 to 3 months of bank statements, and your driver's license, social security, all of those things. So you'll speak with a mortgage lender. They'll ask you for this information, and they're going to provide for you a pre-approval. So this is the amount that the bank is pre-approving to lend you. So they're going to say, based on your salary, your debt to income ratio, your down payment savings and the closing cost savings that you have, and any outside money that's coming in from like a grant program, you qualify for this much money. So that could be, you know, 300,000, 400,000, 500, whatever it is. So let's say you qualify for a loan of, you know, you qualify for a loan of 400,000. You got $50,000 money that you have plus this down payment program. You're going to put 50,000 down, so you qualify for 400,000. You can buy a house for 450. So they'll tell you what your budget is, and that number is really important because your realtor is going to need to know how much. You know, what's your ceiling? What's the highest amount that they can be showing you houses for? When you start this process of purchasing a home, you have to consider your assets frozen. Do not open any new credit cards. Do not buy a car. Do not make any big purchases. Do not quit your job. Try not to get fired from your job. You can't do anything financial, anything you want to 100%. Just everything has to stay the same until you close on that house and you get the keys to that house. You cannot do anything. Everything has to stay the same. Once the mortgage lender gives you the pre-approval and you know what your budget is, then contact a realtor. So I would definitely encourage all first-time home buyers to work with a real estate agent, because working with a real estate agent, again, and you want to interview people, you don't want to just work with anybody all willy-nilly. Working with an agent can benefit you in so many ways. Especially if you're working with an agent who is familiar with the area you want to purchase a home in. A lot of real estate is about relationships and connections, and just like in almost every industry, 20% of the agents do 80% of the work. So if you're working with an agent who really is like a full-time agent and they really know their stuff and they work a lot in the area that you want to buy in, they will know people and they will have insight that agents that don't work in that area may not have. For example, they may be aware of homes that are going to go out for sale before they go for sale. They will have connections with other real estate agents that work in the area that will tell them, hey, listen, I'm about to list this house. If you have somebody, call me. Someone who doesn't work in that area may not have that connection. They also have the benefit of building a good reputation. So if you're putting in an offer on a house that has multiple offers and your offer is identical to 3 other offers, but that agent knows your agent, they're more likely to go with your agent because they've worked with that person before and they know that that person is easy to work with and will get their deal to the closing table. So it's really important to interview agents and find out their familiarity with the area that you want to buy in. And it may just not be one town, it could be a whole county, it could be a whole sort of region, but you just want to work with someone who is familiar because they can help you in ways that others may not be able to.
Right.
That said, there is something to say for the agent who is kind of like, maybe they're just starting out and they don't have a whole lot of clients, but they're really good at what they do and they give you a lot of attention. That is also a strength. And that's a strength because you're going to want to have someone who's going to pick up the phone when you call, who's going to respond to your text messages, who is going to answer your questions and be able to guide you through the process and be there holding your hand through the whole thing.
Right.
So that's something that you also want to look for in an agent is their level of responsiveness. Are they listening to what you're saying? Are they taking your concerns seriously? When you go out to start looking at houses, which is the fun part, are they taking notes about what you like and what you don't like? And then the next time you go out to see houses with them, are they showing you the same things or are they showing you new stuff that you said like, oh, I don't like split level houses. I don't want to see any more of those houses. And the next time you go out, are they still showing you the houses you don't want to see? Or are they showing you something else that you're like, okay, that's what I'm feeling. Yes, that's what I want to see. You want people who are going to really prioritize your time and use your time efficiently. So when you're interviewing, and you should interview different agents, that's something to look for. Don't be surprised if you meet an agent and they ask you to pay a retainer. I personally, in my firm, I charge a retainer. So my retainer is $500 and I give that back to you at closing as a buyer rebate. Some agents are starting to do that. I've done that for years and I do it because it is part of the hiring of my service. Like you're hiring me to do this for you and to work with you to help you purchase a home and to guide you through the process and to manage your transaction for you. And, at the end of the transaction, the $500 retainer that you've paid to my firm, you will get that money back. So if not all agents charge it, but I'm just saying if you see that, that's not uncommon. So don't be alarmed by that. And you kind of should want an agent to do that because that's telling you that that agent really values their time and values your time.
Right.
So once you're working with an agent and you sit down, you have a consultation, which is really fun, and you talk to the agent and tell them all the things that you want out of a property. What do you want out of the neighborhood your property is going to be in? Do you need to be a certain distance from work, or are you looking for a place that's next to a park, or do you are like, I don't want any neighbors. I want the next person 2 acres away from me. Are you like, I want to be where the action is. I need to live close to downtown. I want to be on Main Street. Whatever it is that you want, this is the time. Like, this is the time. And so, a good agent will try to, and you got to make compromises because there's nice to haves and then there's must haves and then there's things that are deal breakers. And, you make that list and your agent will try their best to find the properties that fit that criteria. And your first time going out to look at houses, it's going to be a couple misses. Because your agent is still kind of learning your home style and learning what you're into. So you go out that first time, you see a few houses, and it's really fun. I will tell you though, it is not like House Hunters on HGTV. 3 houses and that's it. Like that is rare. It's very rare, but it happens. It does happen. I have had clients where they bought the first house I showed them. But this is the fun part. This is the part where you get to go in and look at homes. And I encourage you to just like go out there and see stuff. It's really important because the way things look online are often not how they look in person. Sometimes rooms can look bigger on the internet in the picture, and then you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, I can touch the ceiling. This room is so tiny. So it's really important to go see the properties in person. And it's important to look at it with the eye of not just, don't be just razzle dazzled by a beautiful kitchen. You got to look at sometimes there's warning signs that a house might have a little bit of issues, and people overlook them because they just put in a brand new bathroom with gold, a gold faucet and all these pretty marble features, and they are not paying attention to the water stains in the ceiling, and it could be a sign of a leaky roof. So you want to make sure that you're looking at things clear-eyed. You want to try and go look at everything during the day. And this is going to sound crazy, but you want to go out when it's raining. And the reason you want to go out and look at a property when it's raining is so that you can see if the basement leaks. And you can see if water's coming in the basement. You can see if water's coming into the attic. You can see, well, you may not be able to see the attic, but if something looks a little off, seeing properties in the rain is actually a really good thing. It's kind of gloomy and nobody wants to be outside at that time, but there's some big information you can get from that. You can see how humid it does. It get really moist and humid in the basement. These are things you want to know because these can be really expensive problems down the line.
Right.
So when you're looking at homes in New Jersey, and I'm sure they do this in other states as well, the sellers will often fill out a seller's property condition disclosure, which talks about, it's just a giant questionnaire. It's like 300 questions about the house. How old is the roof? How old is the furnace? Have you ever had a fire? Do you have solar panels? When did you get them installed? Do you have radon? Did you ever have termites? How many volts are or how many amps are in your electrical panel? Like all of these questions, and the homeowner will answer them to the best of their ability. And you always want to ask for the seller's disclosure when you see a house that you like, and you read that seller's disclosure. It'll give you all of the information about the house. So once you've found a house that you love and you're like, this is it, I want to put my offer in, your agent will write an offer for you. Now, depending on the house, it could be a house that was on the market for a while, or it could be a house that they just had the open house. The line for the open house was down the street, and there's going to be 20 offers on this house. This is where working with an agent, and this is why agents are worth every penny that they earn. This is how working with an agent, especially an experienced agent or an agent who has a very experienced broker. The broker is that agent's boss, helping them to write these offers, because in a multiple offer situation, you want an agent who is going to help you create the offer with the most attractive terms that gets your offer accepted. When you're house hunting, and you will put offer after offer on a house, if it's a really hot market where you are, and you're having to put in multiple offers and you keep getting outbid by other people, you want to make sure that you are putting together an offer with really excellent terms, because sometimes the terms will outweigh the price. Depending on the property and the condition of the property, there are certain things that you can waive. Now, I wouldn't waive entirely the home inspection, because you absolutely 100% have to do a home inspection. But you can limit the scope of your home inspection. You can say, we're not going to ask you to fix anything cosmetic. We just want to look at the structural integrity of this house. We want to make sure that there's no mechanical issues with the HVAC and, the air conditioning. I'm sorry, my kids are playing in the basement and I hear them starting to come up the stairs. You want to, you don't want to waive the mechanical systems. You don't want to waive the structural. You also don't want to waive environmental. If there's environmental issues like mold, asbestos, radon, if there's an underground oil tank, depending on the neighborhood you live in. Some neighborhoods are really old. My neighborhood is really old. The average home in my neighborhood is about 100 years old. And so there were different heating mechanisms 100 years ago. And sometimes there's underground oil tanks, which can contaminate soil. So you want to include that. But you can waive something like, cosmetic, like we're not going to bother with any cosmetic stuff. Or if you have some old electrical outlets that need to get grounded, we'll take care of that. Don't worry about it. And then it also just depends on the condition of the house. For example, if that house was just recently renovated, it's likely they just got all new electrical. It's likely they may have a new furnace or they may have a new water heater, and you get all of this information in your seller's disclosure. So when you're looking at that, you can look at like, well, I know they just put a new roof on the house, so we're not going to worry about that. And then you can take things off of that to make your offer more attractive. You'll also hear a lot of people are waiving appraisals, and I'll tell you what that means. I'm sorry. I'm just going to have to mute you for a second because you are so loud. I'm sorry. Give me one moment.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Working mom. My niece and nephew were here, and everybody is congregating at the bottom of the stairs and talking really, really loud. Okay, so appraisal waivers are basically when you're getting your property appraised, the bank is going to come out and they're going to look at the value of the property, and they want to make sure it's worth what they're lending for you to buy it. So when the appraiser comes in, the property has to appraise at the value you're paying or higher. If the property appraises for higher, that means the property is worth more than what you're paying for, and that's beautiful. You want that. But there are times when a property may under appraise. It may appraise for a value less than what you're paying for. And this typically happens in areas where the market hasn't caught up to the demand. So, for example, suddenly everybody wants to buy houses in your neighborhood, and there are a bunch of houses that have sold recently really high, but they haven't closed. The transactions haven't closed yet. They're still under contract. And you're selling your house, and somebody wants to pay just as much as they're paying next door for your house. But because nobody's homes have closed yet, there's no comps. So if everybody's getting $500,000 for their house, but the only properties that have closed at 450, unfortunately, you're at risk of your property under appraising because there's nothing to show that anything has sold for 500. Until those $500,000 properties close, you won't have the comps to support your sale. So in the event of an under appraisal, traditionally buyers could ask the seller to renegotiate the price. In this market, what we're seeing is buyers are offering to pay the difference of an under appraisal. That's a tricky thing to do because you have to have the cash to cover that. And so, for example, if you're buying a $450,000 house and everybody's bidding on this house, and now this house has been bid up to 500, and you say, well, I'll pay 500 and I'm going to waive the appraisal. What you run the risk of, if the appraiser comes in and says, well, I'm sorry, this house is only gonna be, I can only appraise it for 475 because everything in the neighborhood closed at 475, nothing's closed at 5. That $25,000 difference between what it appraised for and what you're paying, you're gonna have to come up with that $25,000. So I would say be very careful with waiving appraisals because you have to have the cash to back up that waiver.
That was really good information. So many people are saying that's good, great information. That's all I'm saying. Yeah,
thank you. But so just really quickly though, there are some other things that you can do to incentivize a seller to take your offer over somebody else's. One of the things you can do is you can offer the seller a use and occupancy agreement, meaning that they could stay in the house after closing for like a certain amount of time. Usually it's no more than a month. And a lot of times sellers really appreciate this because they may need extra time to get out of the house. So if they're buying another house or they're moving to another place and their place might not quite be ready yet, they know that they can close, they can get the proceeds from the sale and then still have a little time to get out. So if you offer use and occupancy to the seller, to stay for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks post-closing, no more than a month, because that'll turn it into a landlord tenant thing, and we don't want that. So more than 30 days,
Right.
that's a way to make your offer attractive. Another way to make your offer attractive is to offer to take whatever the seller does not want in terms of furniture and household items. Oftentimes, especially people who are downsizing, they have furniture that's too big for where they're going, or they have a bunch of stuff that they don't need. If you're willing to take the things that they don't want and just have like 1-800 junk come and pick up all this stuff, or if they have nice stuff and you actually want to keep it, but if they have stuff that is not anything that you want, but you're willing to dispose of it for them, that is also a way that you're adding a benefit to the seller that would make your offer stand out from somebody else's offer. And you want to make sure your agent is talking to the listing agent and finding out, hey, what can we do for these sellers? What is something we can do to help these people in their move? And you'll be surprised what you find out. I had someone say, we have a car in the back that needs to get towed. And my people were like, we'll tow it. We'll take it. We'll tow it. We'll get rid of it. We'll do it. We'll, no problem.
Right.
So finding ways to be helpful to the seller is also a really good way of making your offer stand out. And this is where having a savvy, knowledgeable agent absolutely helps to get your offer, at the top of the list above everybody else's.
Right.
So once your offer is accepted, every state has different rules with regards to attorneys and contracts, and are your contracts have to be reviewed by an attorney, or you don't have to have that. Whatever your state does, follow those procedures. But this is also the time when you're going to be giving your down payment, in a portion of your down payment, to escrow. So if you're putting down $50,000, let's just say, you may have to take 10,000 or 20,000 of that 50 and put it in an escrow account. An escrow is a bank account that is managed by an attorney or the real estate agent's office. And they hold that money for you, and then it goes to closing. Oftentimes in New Jersey, it's held by an attorney. They take that, you write them a check, they hold the money for you, and then it goes to the title company at closing. So you're going to have your home inspection. Your real estate agent may recommend a home inspector for you. You can go out and get, Google home inspectors in your area, or ask for recommendations for home inspectors. But when you do your home inspection, it's really important that you attend. Very important that you attend. Unless you physically can't be there in the state wherever you're buying your house, please take the day off for work and be there, because that home inspection is the longest time you will have in the house before you own it. A home inspection takes about 2 to 2.5 hours. And in that 2.5 hour time, your home inspector is going to look at everything in the house. And you want to follow the home inspector, ask them questions. They'll show you all the maintenance stuff. They'll go through everything with you. You want to fine tooth comb, look through that house. The only thing the home inspector can't do is move furniture out of the way, and they can't pull up floorboards or like go behind walls or anything like that. But everything that they can see visibly with their eyes, they're going to go in crawl spaces. They're going to go in the attic. They're going to look all over that basement, the garage, everything. You want to walk around with the home inspector so that you can see with your own eyes everything with the house. If you can bring someone with you, if there's two of you, one of you go with the home inspector, the other one go measure all the rooms and get all the measurements and dimensions for every room in the house, so that you can make a schematic of where your furniture is going to go and how you want to furnish this house. If you want to buy new furniture, you want to know how big the beds you can put in this room, or how big a couch you can put in that living room, or your kitchen table, all of those things. So it's a good time to take video, take pictures, take measurements. Like I said, this is the most time you'll get to spend in the house before you own it, because you won't have a lot of other opportunities to be inside the house. And typically when you're doing a home inspection, the seller isn't there. So you have the house to yourself and you can really get to know the property. After your home inspection, you'll have your appraisal. And simultaneously, while all of this is going on, the title company will be doing their title search. So title search is basically, they are checking the chain of ownership of that property from the time it was built to today. So you have a house that, like my house, the kitchen that I'm sitting in right now, my house is 124 years old. My house was built in 1900. The chain of ownership for my house was so long. There have been so many owners of this house. And they have to make sure in checking the chain of ownership that the ownership passed to each person legally.
Okay.
So you'll get something called title insurance, and what that does is it protects you from any default or defect in title. So for example, let's say somebody shows up at your house one day, knocks on your door and says, I was in a coma and my ex-husband sold this house and he wasn't supposed to, and this is my house and you can't live here now. This is my house. I'm suing you for this house. This is my house. Your title insurance company will step in and deal with that.
Right.
So that's why we have title, and they do a title search and you have title insurance, because they have to check that the chain of ownership passed legally and successfully from one owner to the next, and that nobody sold the house that wasn't supposed to, or somebody said that they inherited it and they sold it and it actually wasn't in for them to sell. So that's what your title is. Your bank may or may not ask you to do a survey. Depending on how big your property is and where your property is located, your property lines might be really well defined, and sometimes they're not. So you may need to do a survey. And then, your mortgage company is also going through the motions of getting your mortgage. You've had your appraisal now, and hopefully your house overappraised. So you got some instant equity built in there. And now your mortgage has gone into underwriting. Your mortgage lender, and please be patient with them, they're going to ask you for the same paperwork 10 times. They will ask you for those tax returns a bajillion times, and you'll be so frustrated because you'll be like, I already gave it to them. Why are they asking for me again? And they'll say, we need those bank statements again. Give us your bank statements again. What they're doing is they're just trying to make sure nothing in your financial picture changed from the time you got that pre-approval to now.
Okay.
They want to make sure you didn't lose your job. They want to see those direct deposits that were coming in from your company are still coming. They want to see that down payment money is still there, minus the money you put into escrow. They're checking to just financially make sure everything is still on the same page. And this is why I said, don't do anything. Don't quit your job. Don't buy a car. Don't get a new credit card. Don't do anything, because they're going to keep checking and they're going to keep asking you for the same paperwork over and over again. So now we're getting towards the light at the end of the tunnel. We've gotten our appraisal. We did our inspection. We did all of these things. When you get your inspection done, your inspector is going to give you a report. It's going to tell you everything that they found out about the property, including photographs of the property. They're going to check everything. Depending on what where you're buying, if your home has a septic system, you're going to get a septic inspection in addition to your general inspection. If your home has well water, you're going to do a well inspection. If your home has a fireplace, you're going to want to do a chimney inspection. If you have an old house like my house, you're going to want to do a sewer line inspection and make sure your sewer line is intact. There are a lot of little ancillary inspections that you are going to want to do. And once you do your general inspection, your inspector may tell you, like, hey, I saw something in the basement that kind of looks like mold. So you might want to get a mold specialist out here to come look at that. When you're doing your home inspections, you typically have 10 to 14 days to complete them. So if there's any secondary or ancillary inspections you need to do, this is the time to do those, because you won't be able to get back into this house and do it again. So you have to do it in that period. So once you've done all of your inspections, you're going to sit down with your attorney or sit down with your realtor or both. And you're going to go through the list of everything the home inspector found and figure out what you want to ask the seller to address. So if you say, they saw something that looked like carpenter ants or termites, and they had some old termite activity, and the inspector said maybe you should get termite treatment and an exterminator to come out, you put that on the list. We would like the sellers to do a termite treatment. Or, your inspector said, there's a cracked window in the basement and water could get in that window. You should ask them to fix that window. You add that to the list, and you're going to come up with a list of stuff. So this is the second round of negotiation, where the seller is going to get a list of repair items from you, and you're going to say, we want you to fix these 10 things. And they might look at that list and go, okay, yeah, we'll fix numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, but 5 and 6 are a little, we don't want to fix that, and 7 and 8 maybe, but we'll do 9 and 10. And then you'll come to an agreement, and the seller will either fix those things, won't fix those things, or they'll give you a credit so that you can fix those things. So they might say, there's about $5,000 worth of stuff on this list, and we'd just like to give you a credit for that. So we'll give you $5,000 back at closing, and you can fix these things. And if you're okay with that, you could say yes. And you know what? We'll take the $5,000. Thank you. And we'll fix it ourselves. So that's really how that works. If there's big ticket items, like, for example, let's say there was a problem with the foundation and you needed to get a specialist, you can get somebody to come out and give you a quote for how much it's going to cost. And then you can tell the seller, like, hey, this is $20,000. So we could take this off the price, or you could fix this, or you could put the money in escrow and we'll fix it. But there's no one way to do any of this.
Right.
It's all negotiable. And this is where your knowledgeable agent and an attorney are definitely people you want in your corner for this. So once that's done, you've done your appraisal, your loan's in underwriting, you've gotten your mortgage commitment, you did your survey, the title search came back clean, everything's fine. The title company will come to you and say, okay, now we are ready to close. They're going to give you what's called a clear to close. Now you are clear to close. So now they're going to give you a closing disclosure. It'll have all the financials on it. They'll tell you when is the closing date. You will come to your attorney's office or the title company's office or your real estate agent's office, and you'll sit down, you'll sign all of your closing documents, and you will get the keys to your home along with the deed. And then you'll be homeowners.
And that was a full breakdown. Like, that was so awesome. You really
thank you. I know, I'm sorry it was so long-winded.
No, but you really
conversation a lot to first-time home buyers. It's a lot of information.
It is. I know it's a few people on here I know who's going to be soon trying to get home. So that was really, truly, really good. I'm happy you did that, because they really can get that information and that knowledge to know what to do. So that was,
and I mean, I'm licensed in New Jersey, so I can only sell real estate in New Jersey, but I am happy to give any of your listeners, anybody watching, any advice. You can definitely make an appointment to talk to me. We can meet via Zoom. We can speak over the phone. If you need any guidance or any help, I'm happy to help.
And we definitely going to put your information on top of the video and paste it on YouTube as well with all your contact information. So if anybody need to reach out to you for housing or anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want you to give one good thing for me. So if somebody who is considering getting into real estate, what would you tell them would be your tips on what they should be doing for us getting involved into your industry?
Okay, so the real estate industry is a great industry to be in. It is, if you are someone who is a people person and you like to network, and I don't mean just business network, I mean just like people network. This is for you. This is totally for you. You don't have to do it full time. You can, but you don't have to. You can do it part time. And if you want to start out part time and then work your way up to being in full time. But I would say when you get your real estate license, you want to interview different real estate brokers, because something that a lot of new agents don't realize is when you get into the business, you are interviewing those brokers as much as they are interviewing you, because you have to pay to work there. And that sounds crazy, right? Completely. But when you're working with some of the larger brokerages that are national chains and international chains, all of those brokerages are independently owned. They're independent contractors. They're franchises of a bigger company. And they often have fees associated with working with them. And you need to know what they are. And you need to know if, they're going to charge you a monthly fee. Are they going to charge you an annual fee? What are all of the fees that you have to pay them to hang your license with their firm? If that's not something that you're comfortable with, you might want to look at some independent owned brokerages, because they may not have those fees associated with working with them. And there are lots of independent brokerages all over the place. Like there's tons, and you'll find independent brokers may not have such large fees. You also want to talk to them about their training and how they train their agents. What kind of support do they offer? Are they going to offer you any kind of marketing support? Do they give you access to a CRM, customer retention management system? Are they, you have to carry error and emissions insurance? Do they pay for it? Do you pay for it? If you pay for it, do they have some like a deal that they work with the insurance company where you can get that kind of insurance at a reduced rate? There's, when you're working as a real estate agent, you're an independent contractor. So you don't work for the agency, you work with the agency, but you're an independent contractor, and they often don't pay you. You only make money on commission. You're working 100% commission based. Now, if that's not something that you're able to do, and believe me, it's very difficult, because when I first started, I didn't see my first commission for the first 9 months in the first year that I worked. And that is rough. But I stuck with it, and I continued building my business and building my business and building my business. Not everybody's at liberty to do that. So if that's something that is not ideal, I would say look for a real estate team and see if you can work with a team. Oftentimes teams will take people in and they will have them work at an administrative level so that you're at least getting a base salary. And in doing it and going into it that way, you're learning a lot of the back end of the business before you get out to the front end of the business. So that can be really good as well. And that's another way to kind of get into it. But definitely talk to different brokerages. Try to talk to some other real estate agents and, see what their experience is like. And I mean, it's a great, sorry, it's running in. It's a great industry with tons of flexibility, and enormous room for growth, like enormous sky's the limit room for growth. It's what you put into it is what you will get out of it. And if you are a self-starter, self-motivated, if you are really good with people and talking to people, it's a lot of guidance. You're going to be guiding people through a process that is very stressful, and it can be really scary. It's a lot of times the largest purchase that people will make in their entire lives, and you're helping them with that. So sorry, my kids are so loud. So if you have that in you, this is a great fit for you, like a great fit for you. And I would say, the agents that I see around me that are really successful are people who are really involved in their community. And they're either like involved in their church community, their spiritual community, their just local municipal community, or like whatever it is. Like they're really into their community, and they've become someone that people in their community trust. And those are the people that I see do the best, because people will gravitate towards them. People come to them. And I myself personally, I'm very involved in my community. I find ways that I can be as engaged in community activities as possible. And a lot of my business is, I would say, 90% of my business is referral based, where I am constantly being referred by people in the community, including people I have never worked with, but they know me in the community. And when someone says, "Do you know a real estate agent?" They go, "Oh yeah, call Khahlidra." So that's where you want, and that's what you want. And if you've already built that in your regular life, just living,
Right.
this is a good industry for you to get in.
That's awesome. Now tell everybody how they can find you on social media or contact you online.
So everything is just Khahlidra. I'm the only one. So my website is khahlidra.com. And you can find me there. You can find me on Instagram at Khahlidra. You can find me on Facebook at Khahlidra Hadhazy. So it's very easy to find me. It's just very difficult to spell my name. So, as long as you spell my name right, you will find me.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and you really gave some gems tonight. Like, honestly,
wonderful!
Some people are here like, oh my God, wow! They're like, wow, this great information. I needed this. This is so much. People are ready to save this live already.
Good. Yes, and please reach out to me. You can schedule an appointment to talk to me on my website. I'm also on Calendly/Khahlidra. So you can find me. And my phone number is on the website. If you Google Khahlidra Hadhazy, you'll get me, and all of my information is there. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have questions about anything. I help people all the time that are not in my state, that are not in my market. Just because they are unsure about something, even if they're working with another real estate agent and they just want to run something by me just to get my opinion and be like, I don't know about this. Does this sound right to you? Please feel free to call me. I think it's really important, especially in our community, for us to be able to help each other in this way. I would love to see more agents of color because I feel very strongly about the increase of agents that look like us will increase our home ownership, and it'll help people in our community feel like they have access to home ownership when they have people in the community that are working with them. So if you don't have somebody in your community that's a real estate agent, but you still want to have some information, please call me. I will help you, and you don't need to be in my market for me to give you advice.
Thank you so much. Again, you have a great night, and get to those kitties because they're ready for you.
We haven't started school yet, so we're starting next week, and everybody's just kind of on that last little
hanging out,
staying up late and running around acting crazy. Yeah.
Yes, well, thank you so much for coming.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. And for anybody who came on late, I know you're probably like, oh my God, it was so much information and I missed it. No worries, we got you. I will have the full episode loaded up on YouTube, so you will see it there starting tomorrow. So you can play it over and over again for some of those nuggets if you missed out. So go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, UBELLC TV, UBELLC TV. And then also, so you don't miss out on any of these weekly tips on how you can level up, get some inspiration, some motivation along the way. Remember, whatever you want to do, it's possible as long as you're being authentic to yourself and being passionate about it. Is yours. Remember that. So again, till next week, happy Winning Wednesday, and I'll see y'all all again next Wednesday. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you so much.